and welcome to Grade Gov News. It's Thanksgiving week. I hope you and your family have a wonderful, wonderful, blessed Thanksgiving. I thought I'd talk to you for just a second about what will be coming up when Congress comes back in the lame duck session. Well, obviously they're out this week and the Republic is safe. But what will they do when they come back next week? Well, of course, they've got the Defense Authorization Bill. They've got to deal with that bill that has been part of what Congress does for the last 51 years. They do it every single year. And this Defense Authorization Bill authorizes every single program within our Department of Defense. Something as small as the color of our uniforms to something as large as tanks and fighter jets. All of that is dealt with in the Department of Defense Authorization Bill, and they plan to deal with that during the lame duck session of Congress. They've also got the Farm Bill. The Farm Bill is done every 5 years in Congress. They need to get that done. Otherwise, the farm programs that now exist would revert back to the policies of 1949. I think you and I can at least agree that that doesn't sound like a good idea. How about FEMA funds? We know how disastrous Sandy was to our friends on the East Coast. Well, those states of New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, they are all requesting additional FEMA money to help deal with the disaster. That will probably come in the form of an emergency supplemental appropriations bill giving FEMA more money to deal with the disaster. And then, of course, you've got the fiscal cliff issues. I know you've heard a ton about them. What are they about? What are contained in the fiscal cliff? Well, the first one is the alternative minimum tax, the AMT patch, as they call it. The alternative minimum tax was created back in 1982. It was designed to tax people that were considered wealthy back in 1982, tax them more, make them pay a higher income tax. But you know what? Congress has never indexed it properly for inflation. In other words, adjusted it for inflation. So what someone made back in 1982 may have been considered wealthy. That amount of money now is no longer wealthy, but yet that person, that married couple filing jointly will have to pay the alternative minimum tax. So they have been patching it, called the AMT patch. They've been patching it for years. That has to be done because that expires and that new tax rate will hit people beginning January 1. How about the doc fix? That's what it's called. This is a cut in doctors' reimbursements. This cut occurs January 1. Isn't it interesting that these all expire at the same time? The doc fix was written back in 1997, and effectively it cuts doctors' reimbursement rates by 27%. So if your doctor spends, let's say, $100 to see a Medicare patient, when he submits that bill to the federal government wanting his $100 back, he's only going to get $73 back. You think he's going to continue to see Medicare patients if he gets cut? Well, they have been doing what's called the doc fix, patching that, delaying that reduction in reimbursement since the 90s. Of course, that reduction kicks in January 1. How about the fiscal cliff issues? We know what they're contained therein is the sequester, the across-the-board cuts that are the result of the failed super committee. And of course, the super committee comes about when they passed the debt increase back in August of 2011. They were tasked at that point, Congress was tasked to find across-the-board cuts in the form of $1.5 trillion, and they failed. So as a result of them failing, this across-the-board cut in all federal programs, but most severely cut would be the Department of Defense. Guess when that occurs? Close of business January 1 of 2013. The Bush tax cuts. These are deductions we have been enjoying since 2001 and 2003. What is that, 12 years. We've been enjoying them. Every American has been enjoying these various tax deductions. They expire, take a guess, January 1st of 2013. Do you not think it's a little irresponsible that Congress had all of these things expire at the same time? Did they lose their calendar? Maybe we should all get together and buy them a calendar, because it's incredibly irresponsible for them to have all of these things expire at the same time, creating what is now called the fiscal cliff. You also have the payroll tax holiday. This is the tax holiday that we have all been enjoying. If we get paychecks, we've been paying a little bit less into the Social Security fund. That means that our paychecks have been a little fatter every time we've gotten a paycheck. That has been happening to us for a year. The payroll tax holiday, they've called it. That expires January 1. So our paychecks after January 1 will be slightly less. It amounts to around $20 a paycheck for the average family. All of this again expires January 1. And remember what Rahm Emanuel said, the president's former chief of staff: never let a good crisis go to waste. Well, Congress has created this crisis. Our members of Congress have created this crisis by allowing all of these things to expire at the same time. Let your member of Congress know you do not appreciate our country being put on this fiscal cliff, put in this predicament, because they apparently can't manage legislation. They've lost their calendar, and it just seems irresponsible to put our fiscal house in such a precarious situation. So they'll have to deal with the fiscal cliff issues, the Department of Defense authorization bill, the farm bill, and also they'll have to deal with FEMA funds. There may be a few other things when they come back after the Thanksgiving holiday. I appreciate you listening. Thank you again. Have a wonderful, wonderful, blessed Thanksgiving holiday. And I'll be talking to you during the lame duck session of Congress, so stay tuned.